So I'm excited to get to teach today. All right, let me just get a few things set up here. Well, I'll work on that later. All right. We're going to be talking about working your sphere of influence today. But before we do that, we have Crystal here who is with North Star, but she's also going to just represent All Valley as well while she's here, since we have California people on. So right here, they'll be able to see you.
Oh, they can see me right here?
Yes.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. Again, my name is Crystal. I know I probably introduced myself to most of you at the last call on Tuesday. Just wanted to remind you that title is here, whether it's North Star for Utah or All Valley for California. But if you have any questions, feel free to kind of shoot them over or let us know, and I'm more than happy to answer them. I do have experience in California, so if any of the California people right now do have questions, I can answer those as well. If not, and you come up with some later, feel free to reach out to Russ. Russ will relay the question and I can answer them.
Yeah, so do you guys have any questions for Crystal that are either escrow or title related?
Nope. Okay. Great.
Anybody on Zoom? Unmute or throw it in the chat box if you do.
Nope.
Okay, well, let me just give a plug for Crystal since she's here. So she's awesome. And so I would just say for you guys, as far as at least the ones in Utah, unfortunately, you're not going to close any of the California people, right? So, but hey, I had her do a closing for us where there was a couple of mistakes, and one of them was not her fault on our end. And the big one was there was supposed to be a 7% commission, and it got charged as a 6% commission. And so we were like, oh no, how do we go back now? After the seller's already signed and seen the HUD, I guess we don't call it HUD anymore, closing disclosure. And we were a little panicked, and Crystal was like, I got it, don't worry about it. And she went and took care of it, and it was awesome. The seller was like, okay. So, anyway, I don't know if that's really what happened. But.
No, yeah, it was. I joke around that I have a sparkle. I call it the Crystal Sparkle because it matches my name. But yeah, it's a part of title's job. You know, we help you guys solve the problems too. We're one team. And it's really good and important to have a strong title team, whether you use North Star or All Valley. It's important to have a strong title team behind you that can help you, especially as new agents, and answer all your questions, be able to point out, hey, you actually have to do this, So like I said before, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out, or Russ can forward you my info.
And you probably still are licensed in California, right?
California don't have to be licensed.
Oh,
but
then she doesn't need a license because she can help you from you guys that are with all using All Valley. Call Crystal. So.
Yeah. But the All Valley team though is awesome. They're overseen by my boss too, so they're a great team. They're very, very knowledgeable. But again, like Russ said, I'm here to answer any questions. So, yep, it was lovely meeting everybody virtually and in person.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, thanks for being here. Thank you. All right, well, so here's what we're going to talk about today. Today we're going to be talking about and going through working on sphere of influence. So I'm excited because I see a couple of people that are back for a review, so I'm excited for that because this class, of all the classes that I teach, this class in particular, so for you guys that are on Zoom, with having someone here, people here with me, I'm going to be on this camera, so I apologize you won't be able to see me as well, but I am going to use a screen share on my iPad so you'll be able to see as well. But of all the classes that I teach, this one, and I've been kind of hyping it all week for you guys that are on Zoom, I've been hyping it all week of all the classes that I teach, if you will do what I'm going to teach you today, it is guaranteed to work. And I'll show you what I mean by that as we get into this and talk about it. But this class of everything that I teach is one that I highly recommend that you would come back to this one probably every time I teach it. So it's about every, 6 weeks or so that I end up teaching it. I would recommend coming back and attending this one until the business is working for you the way that I'm going to teach you today that it should work. And because here's the thing, it is a math problem and it's guaranteed to work. But if it isn't working, it is because you're rounding a corner. You're not doing, I'm going to give you 4 protocols today of 4 things that if you will do them, that it's guaranteed to work, which I just realized since I have actual people with me. So that's what I would say is make sure that you're going to get some good information from the class today. You're going to, after the class, be like, wow, that was awesome. And yeah, I can see where that will work. Because the thing is I am going to prove to you, I'm going to show you and give you proof that if you will do the things that we talk about in this class, it will work. It is 100% guaranteed to work. The only reason it won't work is if you don't follow the 4 protocols that I'm going to give you. Okay. So just kind of keep that in mind as we go through it. Now, as we do that though, I'm going to share my screen here. Get my whiteboard going up here. Oh, and there's Mr. Haddock too. Dr. Haddock, I should say. Oh, I apologize. That's because I wanted you to show up in person.
Works for me.
Good, works for me too. All right, so here's what we're going to start with though. So as we go through and we talk about this today, here's where I want to start with on this is the management of your sphere of influence is really a math problem. Okay, so you're going to hear me say that a bunch, and you've already heard me say it, but the management of your sphere of influence is a math problem. Now, as part of that though, before we jump into that, I want to make sure you understand a couple of other things first. So I'm going to lay some groundwork for what we're going to talk about, but I'm going to hit this first part kind of quickly because it's important, but not as important as what I want to talk about. So think of it this way. There are 3 groups of people that we're going to deal with, okay? Now, these three groups of people that we're going to deal with, we're going to be spending the time talking about your sphere of influence today, but I want to hit briefly on the other 2 as we're doing it. So the first group is what we would call a client. Oh, thanks, Brittany. Yeah, if for you guys that are on Zoom, I had the people here. I got a clipboard, so Greg, if you'll sign that. But if you'll throw into the chat box first and last name and office, then I'd appreciate it. I realized yesterday after we got done with class that I forgot to say that at the end, and I know we had people on that didn't sign in. So, but okay. So here's what we're going to talk about is so the 3 groups of people. The first is what we would call a client. Now, as we talk about a client, there are 4 things that make someone a client. And like I said, I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this because I really want to spend our time on the sphere of influence, but you need to make sure that you understand this piece as well. So in terms of a client, the 4 things that make somebody a client is, and this doesn't fit in with what you learned in real estate school. When you went to real estate school, they taught you what a client was, but they taught you from the standpoint of legally what makes someone a client, which is great. And I don't want to take away from that. But what I want to make sure you guys understand on this is what makes somebody a client from the standpoint of you're going to get paid. So as we go through and talk about it, we're talking about it. What makes someone a client so that you can plan on getting paid from them, not the legal definition of this is what makes someone a client. Now, so with that, what would you guys say makes someone a client? What do they have to have, be, or do?
Buyer broker or ERS.
Okay, good. So either the buyer broker or on the listing side, they've got to sign the listing agreement, right? So here's how I'm going to write it down though. So now that, again, that's the legal side of things, which is important. Like, I don't want to take away from that. But in order for you to get paid, here's how I'm going to put it, is I'm going to write it down as you. Now, here's how you might want to write it down though, is they have to be committed to working exclusively with you. So what makes someone a client is they're committed to working exclusively with you. So I'll say that again so you can make sure you get it written down. What makes someone a client is that they are committed to working exclusively with you. Now, the way that they demonstrate that is that they're committed to working exclusively with you is by signing the buyer broker. So, but is it possible for somebody to be committed to working with you and not have signed a buyer broker? Yeah. Is it possible somebody signed a buyer broker, but they're not committed to working with you? That never happens, right? Yeah. Okay. So the first thing that has to happen is they've got to be committed to working exclusively with you. Then number 2, the second thing, well, actually, let me ask you guys. So what else would have to happen? What else would they have to have, be, or do? And I better keep an eye on the chat box in case people throw it in up there too.
A reason.
Okay, good. Say more about that, Greg. So Greg said a reason.
That's a reason to do what they want to do.
Okay, good.
A need, a want, a desire.
Okay, and Dolores said motivated. Okay, good. You guys are on the right track. So here's how I'm going to write it down. So I'm going to write, because I don't have as much space, I'm going to write it as need. Let me tell you what to write. Here's what I would write down if I were you. They have clear and present needs. So they have clear and present needs that can be met. They have clear and present needs that can be met. So clear and present needs that can be met. Okay, that's the next thing that's going to make someone a client. Clear and present needs that can be met. So what does that mean? Clear and present needs that can be met.
Just
No conditions in the way.
Okay, good. So Greg said no conditions in the way. I like that. Yeah, so here's how I think about it. They know what they want and they can get it, meaning they can qualify to get it. So a lot of times that's where people, when I ask what's going to make somebody a client, somebody will say that they can qualify. And let's see, we've got an able, willing, and ready. Good, yeah. So clear and present needs that can be met basically means that they're clear at what it is that they want and it's realistic, it exists, and they can afford it. Okay, so that's the second piece that's going to make somebody a client. Third thing then, number 3 that is going to make someone a client is that they are prepared to buy or sell now. So I'm writing it down as now. For you, put it down as they are prepared to buy or sell now. That's what's going to make them a client, is they're prepared to buy or sell now. Okay, so when is now? So I said they're prepared to buy or sell now. When is now?
Now, today,
Okay, so today, good.
or next week.
Okay, good. Or no, I'm good with that. Or next week, that works. How about somebody on Zoom?
They're willing to take the next relevant step.
Okay, good. So I love that. How
Stay on schedule.
Good, good. So I don't know if you guys on Zoom heard Greg's, what he said is he said they're ready to take the next step. I love that actually. That is a very, very good way of saying it, because for me, they're committed to buying now. When I say that, or selling now, when I say that, what I mean by it is that they're prepared to take whatever that next step is. They're going to buy the next step, which the next step could be to get qualified. The next step could be to write an offer. The next step could be to do an inspection. Whatever it is, the next step is what they're willing to buy. See, they're buying every step along the way, not just closing on a house. So for me, now means that when we find, remember up here, we got this clear and present need that can be met. When we find that clear and present need, that they're prepared to do it. That they're not saying, oh, well, now that we found that house, now we just got to save up some money. Oh, now we got to get our credit working. Like, that's not now. So now isn't necessarily tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. Now isn't next week. It's not today. It's just whatever the next step is, they're prepared and ready to take it. And when we find the clear and present need, they're prepared to do it. All right. This last one, number 4, is more about management. Let's see. Carolina says they really need to commit. That's right. Good. So number 4, this one is more about managing a client. This one is more about how we're going to manage our client. But I also would say this applies. So if you were to stop and look at, do I have a client? The first question I would ask, are they committed to working exclusively with you? If the answer is yes, you have a client. Or, well, so far you have a client. You have one step. Are they committed? Do they have clear and present needs that can be met? Now, whether it's buyer or seller, do they have clear and present needs that can be met? Yes. Okay, good. Are they prepared to do it now? And if you said, yeah, that's, we're just waiting for an offer, or we're just got to get the right property to come along, whatever it is, they're committed to buying now or selling now. Number 4 is about management of them, but it still applies. And that is they have to be what we would call tethered. Tethered means tied to, right? Now, typically, we would think that we would tie our client to us by having the buyer broker or a listing agreement signed, but that's not how we tether them. The way we tether a client is through an appointment. So here's how I like to say it. You can't have a client without having an appointment. You can't have a client without having an appointment. So what that means is you should never leave an appointment with a client without scheduling the next appointment. Every time you're on an appointment, schedule the next appointment. All right. So I know I went through that a little quick, but I actually, believe it or not, went through it slower than I intended to. So, but okay, so that was number one, is clients. Next is what we're going to talk about is what I like to refer to as prospects. And I think of this, when I say prospects, I'm thinking of it like if you were out panning for gold, like you're out looking for gold, you're prospecting. Well, that's what we're doing when we're on the phone or we're out knocking on doors. We are prospecting. So another way we could think of these people is we could call them leads. Okay. How are we going to handle leads, our prospects, the people that we come across that are going to end up being leads? How are we going to handle them? Well, here's what I will tell you. What defines a client is these four things we just talked about. So what defines then a prospect is that they are deficient in one or more of these items here. So meaning, so let me make sure you understand it. What's going to make somebody a prospect is that maybe they have clear and present needs that can be met. They may be ready to go now, but they're not committed to working exclusively with you. They're not a client, they're a prospect. Or let's say you have somebody that has committed to working exclusively with you, and maybe they have clear and present needs that can be met, but they're not ready to go now. Well, they're not a client, and to some extent, I might even say they're actually not a prospect either. So a prospect is missing or deficient in one or more of these four items, is what makes somebody a client. They're missing one or more of those. So now let me explain it this way. This is probably the best way to say it. You have somebody that's committed to working exclusively with you. They have clear and present needs that can be met, and they're ready to go now, but you don't have an appointment with them. Well, if you don't have an appointment, based on my definition of a client, you don't have a client, you have a prospect. So how would we manage then our prospects? If the way that we manage clients is through appointments, how are we going to manage a prospect? Any ideas?
Contact by setting up an appointment.
One thing I've heard you say,
Sorry.
Russ, is I'm a little bit confused. You say you want to purchase a property, but you're not willing to take the next step. I'm confused on that.
Okay, good.
Confront them.
Yeah, so Greg's saying we're going to confront him and say, hey, this is what my understanding is. You want to do this, but your actions aren't doing that. So what's kind of holding you back? Good. Now we had a couple people said stuff online. I'm going to kill it. I'm going to slaughter it. Nagma,
That's pretty
close
good.
enough.
Close enough.
All right. Tell us what you said.
I said contacting them, keeping in
Okay, good.
contact nonstop.
Perfect. Yeah. So here's what we want to do is the way we're going to manage our prospects or leads is we should be contacting them how often?
Depends.
Okay. So here's what I would say. If they're a prospect, now remember, if we're defining, I'm going to ask the question again, but I'm going to set it up a little differently and you guys are going to change your answer. So watch. You have somebody who is committed to working exclusively with you. They have clear and present needs that can be met and they're prepared to act now, but you don't have an appointment with them. How long are you going to let them go without talking to them?
It's got to be an immediate call.
Okay. So how long? What do you think?
2 hours, the maximum.
2 hours. Okay, good. So it maybe doesn't need to be quite, I mean, that should be our idea, is I'm going to try 2 hours. But what's the most we should let them go without contact? What's the longest you should let that person go without trying to contact them?
48 hours.
Okay, good. See, notice you guys went from a couple of weeks to now 48 hours. So here's what I would say. Now, the example I just used, I would agree with you guys. Like, it's got to be daily, basically, if it's that. Whoops. It's got to be almost daily if they fit the three that I was just talking about here. But let's say that maybe they are committed to working exclusively with you, but they're just maybe still not quite now, or maybe just here. Let me just scratch that. I'll just tell you. Here's what I would say. you should have contact with your prospects or your leads at minimum, at least, I probably should say at least, but or minimum, one time per week. Okay. You should never let a week go by without trying to contact a lead, staying in touch with a lead. Okay. Now, so the last area, which is what we're going to spend the whole rest of the class talking about, is what I sometimes will refer to as suspects. Or really, we could just say it as your SOI. Okay. We're going to talk about your SOI now. So the rest of this class, what we're going to talk about now is going to be SOI. And I'm going to give you 4 protocols for your SOI. So similar to what we did with the clients, only I'm going to take a little bit more time on this to help you understand it. Now, here's what I want to say first on this in terms of working your sphere of influence. Okay. So, oops, I did not mean to clear that, but now it's gone. All right. Here's what I would say first on this. Now, remember I started the class by saying this is a math problem and it's guaranteed to work. It will work. And I'm going to show you the math on it. Now, when I say that, sometimes people that aren't math people get a little freaked out of, oh, I hate math. Don't worry about it. It's going to be so simple. You'll understand the math that I'm doing. But here's the thing. What I'm going to teach you in, let me draw this out here. And I've shown you this learning curve earlier in the week. But essentially, think of it this way, is for you to get to this point right here, which is where I would say that if you will follow the process I'm going to teach you in, it is guaranteed to generate over a 6-digit income. Now, you'll see when I run the numbers on this that it's more like dramatically over a 6-digit income. To where what I'm saying is you'll see the numbers that I'm talking like $250,000 in income just from working your sphere of influence, if you'll do what I say. Now, but here's the key. Notice that I'm saying it's going to take it from this point on, it's going to generate that over a 6-digit income for you. But notice the process to get there, that's going to take somewhere between 6 and 9 months. Okay. Now, I'm going to give you some ideas of how to get that to take place and potentially how to get it to take place a little bit quicker. But unfortunately, part of the process of this is going to just take a little bit of time to get it up and running. Now, let me ask you guys a question. How many of you guys know about how bamboo grows? What do you know about bamboo and how it grows? Nothing? Okay. Joanna says nothing. What about the rest of you?
Doesn't it take about like 80 years to grow below the surface and then it just shoots up rapidly?
Good, you're on the right track. So it's actually 4 years that it is getting its root structure in place. And then in the 5th year, it will grow like 90 feet in a matter of like 3 weeks. But hold on. How long did I say it's going to take to get its root structure in place?
4 years.
Yeah, it's 4 years to get that in place. Now, the good news is what I'm going to teach you guys today in is not going to take 4 years, but it might take 6 to 9 months to get you to the point that we're talking about. Okay. So recognize, and here's the frustration. Remember I said to you guys, come back and attend this class every time I teach it until it's working. Here's the reason why, is most people will leave this class excited about it and then not go and do it. I'm going to give you 4 protocols and they're not difficult. See, Greg just pointed the finger at himself. But what's happened, so have you been through this before then, right?
Yeah.
And when you left the first time, Greg, were you like, yeah, I could see it. I could see why that would work.
So excited.
But then what happens is what I talked about on Morning Ascent today is entropy. We start to round the corners and we quit doing it. So here's the thing. Notice on here that what's going to happen for the first few months is this. Nothing. You're going to go do what I ask you to do. And initially you're going to feel like I'm doing all this and nothing's happening. But keep in mind, it works like bamboo. If you went and planted some bamboo seeds, you're going to, after 3 years, I mean, you're probably not even going to give it that long, but after 3 years, you'd be like, is this really working? I'm not sure. Well, that's what's going to happen with this is early on in the process, you're going to ask yourself questions of like, is this really working? Like Russ said this, it made sense. I can see why it would work. But all of a sudden, like I'm 2 or 3 months into it here and nothing's happening. Well, here's what I will tell you. Of all the people that I have trained this in, the ones who stick to it and do follow the process that I'm going to give you, about the time that most people give up, which is right here, is just right before it takes off. But most give up right before it takes off. So don't give up, I guess is what I'm saying, which is why I said, come back and attend this class over and over again, because what's going to happen is along the way, you're going to start to round some corners. You're going to forget some things that we talk about today, but you have to follow the process. Now, notice that I've said I'm going to give you 4 protocols. When I say protocols, the reason I'm calling them protocols and not rules is usually we think about rules as, oh yeah, it's important and we should do it. And think about it when you were in a class in school. And at least for me, I always hated the first day of class or 2 where the teacher would stand up and be like, all right, this is what this class is going to be like. And here's the rules that we're going to follow. And I remember always sitting there going, I'm going to hate this class. And then you find out that, oh, the teacher didn't really care if you actually passed a note a little bit. And I mean, I was going to digress into one of my high school teachers, but I won't. Like, people were like doing drugs in her class and she didn't care. Like, literally didn't care. You're a good person. It's okay. Like, anyway, I went to school at Cypress though. So you guys are like, oh, that makes sense. Okay. Which for you guys in California, that doesn't mean anything. It's Utah's version of Compton. I mean, not as bad probably, but I don't know. Anyway. Okay. So just please, I'm like begging of you to do this. If you will do it, it will work. But you got to stick with it and you got to follow the process and it'll work. And here's what I will promise you. So Greg, I'm making this to you too. If you will follow the process and it doesn't work, I will personally coach you to get it to work. But you got to do it. I mean, that's the key, is you got to do it, because it will work. I know it will work because I did it in my own business. And when I did it and followed the process, it worked. And I have trained enough people in it that if you'll do it, it works. All right, enough of the commercials, right? Let's get to it, okay? All right, so just keep this piece in mind though. Don't forget that at first, it's going to feel like nothing's happening, but just like bamboo, it's getting its root structure in place so that when it takes off, it can really take off. Okay. So, all right, with that in mind, let's start to get into this. So the first thing that I need to show you though, is I told you that it's a math problem, right? Oh, I got to quit sharing here so that I can share something else. All right. So it's a math problem. Now, before we get into the math of this, I got a video that I'm going to show you guys. And this video is for you guys that are younger. It's Ma and Pa Kettle, which probably have you ever heard of Ma and Pa Kettle? Okay. You ever heard of Ma and Pa Kettle? Okay. But see, I noticed I didn't ask you, Greg. Because I knew that Greg would know. But for you guys that are online too, Ma and Pa Kettle was basically back before we could just go stream whatever we wanted when we wanted. You actually would sit down and watch TV. Now, this actually is even a little before my time. But Ma and Pa Kettle was back when TV was not in color. It was black and white, and it would come on weekly, and it was basically like a sitcom that would come on. So I'm going to show you a clip from this, and hopefully you guys hear him. Sorry. Hopefully this will work now. So I apologize for that. Give me just 1 second and we'll play this.
To you, Pa and Ma, and 25% divided between the 5 of us. Yida, Crowbar, myself, Tom, and the baby. That makes 5% for each one of us.
Billy, you're cheating yourself. If there's 25% divided among the 5 of you, that's 14% apiece.
Oh, no, listen, Pa. I wouldn't cheat you. You know I wouldn't. Now, look here. I'll show you. Let me rub this out here. And now, 25 divided by 5 is 5. You see, 5 won't go into 2, will it? No. But 5 goes into 25 5 times, you see?
No, you're wrong, Billy. Now, I'm pretty good mathematician. Now, 5 into 25, 5 won't go into 2, will it?
No.
But 5 goes into 5 once. Now, we didn't use the 2 before, so we bring it down here. Now, 5 into 20 goes 4 times. There you are. 5 into 25, 14.
No, look, Pa. Let me prove it to you now by multiplication. 5 times 5. 5 times 5 is 25.
Billy, I'm surprised you're learning.
Huh?
I'm surprised that you're learning. Now I'll show you. 5 times 14 is 25. 5 times 4 is 20. 5 times 1 is 5. 25. That's it.
No. Look, Ma. See, look, you're wrong there because I'll prove it to you. We'll put down 5 14s here. 14. There. Now I'll prove to you by addition that 5 14s is not 25. 4, 8, 12, 16, 20.
21, 22, 23, 24, 25. There you are. Better brush up, Billy. I don't want to see you boys cheated.
Sorry. Okay, we're back. I think I got it fixed there, so that it doesn't echo anymore. All right. So what you just saw there is Ma and Pa Kettle. Now, with Ma and Pa Kettle, you could see they weren't very good at doing math. Now, to some extent, as we go through and we talk about this today, you guys at one point are probably going to feel like I'm doing Ma and Pa Kettle math, but I'm really not. Okay, it's not Ma and Pa Kettle math, but it is a math problem. So now, let me start to get into this for you. So what we're going to talk about today for this first protocol. So remember, I'm going to give you 4 protocols. The first one's going to take the longest for me to explain because you have to understand this piece of it in order for the whole thing to make sense. Okay. Now, we're going to talk about 2 types of systems. The way that most people approach working their sphere of influence, they approach it as if they are working what's called in math an open system. Now, don't worry too much about it. I'm going to help you understand and see the difference between an open system and a closed system. But because the first thing that has to happen is we have to be working our sphere of influence as a closed system. If we are working it as an open system, then it's not going to work. And I'll show you what that looks like. So this is going to take a few minutes to get this open system versus a closed system explained. But so here's the first step of it, okay, is think of it this way. Oh, I got to get this screen back on so you guys in here can see what I'm doing. All right, think of it this way. If I were to take a map and I just were to grab a map and I drew a circle on the map. Now it would have to be a pretty large circle for the map for this to work out, meaning the sampling size would have to be pretty decent. But if we were to do that, if I were to take it and let's just say for you guys that are in California, let's just say I took the area of like Camarillo, Oxnard, and Ventura. And for you guys in Salt Lake, we'll just say Salt Lake County, okay? If I were to do that and I drew it on a map, what do you think that the percentage of people that are going to move in that area would be over the next year? Any ideas? Either unmute, throw it in the chat box. Either way, because yeah, you guys online are welcome to unmute if you want.
0.5%.
0.5%? Okay.
0.5%.
Oh, 0.5%. Okay. Anyone else?
Maybe a little bit more.
A little more? Okay. All right. So here's what I'm going to give to you is this is according to the census. So according to the Census Bureau, every year, 12% of the population will move. Now that's taking into account renters and all that as well. But so 12% of the population will move every year. So if we factor out for that though, what we come up with is 7%. If you factor out renters, that typically what you're going to see, and again, this is on average. So we're talking about, like I said, this would have to be a pretty large sampling. So to some extent, it is going to vary in Salt Lake versus in Ventura County, obviously. Like that's going to vary different. But if you look at, according to the Census Bureau, nationwide, 7% of the population is in the process of buying or selling or moving. Yeah, no, buying and selling. 12% is moving. 7% would be buying or selling every year. Well, okay. So now let's take that. And if what we were to say, now here's what we're going to talk about for a minute is empirical data versus anecdotal data. And I want you guys to see some things with this, because typically what you will hear, if you have not heard in the past, this is what you're typically going to hear, is if you talk to 100 people, you should get 10 leads. From those 10 leads should turn into one transaction. Okay. That's usually at least for me as a brand new agent, that was the way I was trained, is if you go talk to 100 people, you should get 10 leads. Those 10 leads should turn into one transaction. Okay. Now, if you guys remember, for those that were with me throughout this training the last 2 weeks, I mentioned to you on one day last week, Wednesday, I think it was, that I was doing essentially 50 contacts a day or 250 contacts per week. Well, if you follow this math, then if I followed that and said I did 250 contacts in a week, I should have gotten 25 leads and had 2.5 transactions. Well, that's not what was happening. Yet this is what we get taught all the time, is that if you talk to 100 people, you should get 10 leads and turn it into one transaction. Well, the problem with that is that we don't understand the way that odds really work. Meaning the way you and I have been trained, we think we understand odds, but we don't really understand what they mean. So let me show you what I'm saying. Essentially, the way we typically interpret that is going to be something like this. Let me just make sure got everything here. Okay. Usually it looks something like this. So if I come and talk to Joanna, so now remember, what we're talking about here is the idea of, if I talk to 100 people, I should get 10 leads, should turn into one transaction. So essentially, every 10 people I talk to should turn into a lead, which out of 10 of those should turn into a transaction. Everybody follow me? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So watch what happens. So if I go talk to Joanna and I say, hi, my name is Russ, I'm a Century 21, blah, 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 blah. And she's not interested in doing anything real estate related. And then I come over, tell me your name. Josh Wagstaff. Oh, okay, good. Josh Wagstaff. I got like 2 Joshes that started about the same time. So, okay, Josh Wagstaff. So I come to Josh and I talk to him and he says no. So then I go to Greg and he says no. And then I go online here to Zoom and I talk to Austin and Austin says no. And BJ, hey, BJ, welcome. Dude, I haven't seen you forever. Glad you're on the class. And glad you're killing it on business too, I understand.
Thank you.
Oh, that's all I get. Thank you. All
Thank
right.
you.
Hey, good to see you though.
Thank
all right, so I get to BJ and I talk to him and he says no. So then I go to Brittany and she says no. So what? I've done 3, 4, 5, 6. Go to Carolina, 7. Debbie, 8. Dolores, 9. Edith. Okay, so what should happen when I get to Edith? Based on what this says, what should happen?
She should have almost all of the prospects to be a client.
Yeah, she should say yes, right? Mm-hmm. According to these numbers, if 1 out of 10 is going to say yes, what should happen when I get to Edith? So Edith, are you going to tell me yes? She's not really there, apparently. I'm just kidding. Okay. All right. Well, we'll assume that you're going to tell me yes. I get. Oh, there. She typed yes. Okay, good. So she tells me yes. But in reality, is that what happens? No. In reality, see, here's the problem. Your understanding, the way that we have tipped, and when I say your, just meaning in general, the way we have been trained, the way we think about it is, if I said to you, if you go talk to 100 people, you're going to get 10 leads, which should turn into one transaction. Like, that sounds pretty good. And I will tell you, for me, if I had been doing that, remember I said up here again, I'll write it back. I shouldn't have erased it, I guess, is if I talked to 250 people, I should have gotten 25 leads and done 2.5 transactions. Well, times that by 50 for the year, I should have been doing 250 transactions a year. That's not what happened. See, so here's the problem. Here's why. We look at that and we hear it and we see that and we go, oh, well, that sounds pretty good. 110, 1. But here's the problem. When we're working in an open system, let me show you what that really says. Here's what it really says. If I go talk to Joanna and she says, well, it doesn't matter what she says. If I go to talk to Joanna, what are the odds that she is going to say no? Now, remember, I'm saying the opposite now. What are the odds that she's going to tell me no? Not yes, but no.
9 and 10.
That's right. So the odds are 9 times greater. See, because if it's 9 to 1, the odds are 9 times greater that she's going to say no than that she's going to say yes. See, nobody presents it to you this way. To say every person you talk to, there is a 9 times better chance that they're going to tell you no than they're going to tell you yes. So I go to Josh. What are the odds now? So I just left Joanna. They were 9 to 1. What are they now?
8 to 2.
See, unfortunately, that we wish it was 8 to 2, but it's not. What is it?
9 and 10.
It's 9 to 1. Now, what is it with Greg?
Same.
9 to 1. So now I go on to Zoom and I start calling and I talk to Austin. What is it? 9 to 1. And I go down to BJ, 9 to 1. Brittany, 9 to 1. Carolina, 9 to 1. Debbie, 9 to 1. Dolores, 9 to 1. Now, wait a minute. So now I've talked to the 9. What is it going to be on Edith?
1 to 9.
9 to 1.
9 to 1 still. See, here's the problem. In an open system, when you're just prospecting in the general public, now I am not trying to dissuade you from doing this, by the way. I'm just wanting you to understand how odds work and why what I'm going to teach you in is so powerful and it works so well, because we're not going to do it as an open system. See, in an open system would be no different than this dice here. Hopefully you guys can see it. I guess get a little closer here this way. I've got this dice here. What are the, somebody pick a number between 1 and 6.
2.
Okay, 2. So Joanna picked number 2. What are the odds that I'm going to roll a 2 if I roll this? What are the odds?
5, right?
Yeah, so 5 to 1, that using how we've done it, it's going to be 1 out of 6 times, or when I roll it, it's 5 to 1 against me getting it. But so, okay, so watch what happens here. So let me show you guys how this works. So I'm going to see how many times I have to roll this. So I don't know how well on Zoom you guys will be able to see. You're just going to have to trust us. That these Joanna, Josh, and Greg won't let me lie to you, right? Okay. So let's see how many times I have to roll it to get a 6. Because based on what you and I have been taught, within 6 rolls, I should get it 1 time. So let's see what happens. Okay. So I just rolled it and got a 4. So now there's number 2 roll. We got a 1. My 3rd roll, I got a 1. My 4th roll, I got a 5. My 5th roll, we got a 6. Okay, so we're going to get a 2 this time, right? Right? Theoretically. However, we just got a 4. So now let's see how many times I have to roll it. So there's 6. There's 7 times. Okay, 8 times. I had to roll it 8 times to get a 2. Let's do it one more time just for fun to see how long I have to roll it. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, Still haven't gotten a 2, just so you guys know. 5. This is how I get my exercise. 6. Doing my squats here. 7. 8. So I thought the odds were 1 and 6, but for some reason for us, it's been 1 and 8. Okay. So the odds of getting it is 1 in 6. Here's the problem. And this is the same problem we have in real estate. See, if you were to average it out over all the agents, over all of everything, it might, I actually, this is all anecdotal. There's no empirical on what I'm about to say. But if you averaged it out, it might end up being that for every 100 contacts, you get 10 leads and 1 transaction. That might be the case, but here's the problem. In order for me to get this dice to be at a 1 in 6, where the odds of me rolling it is, I'm probably going to have to do it 100,000 times. If I rolled it 100,000 times, it probably is going to end up being about 1 out of 6 that a 2 comes up. But do you want to have to make 100,000 contacts to get a transaction as the 1 in 10? Like, probably not, right? So that's an open system. Okay, so now let me show you what a closed system looks like. So the first protocol that we are going to have for you guys for work in your sphere of influence, to do it the way that I'm going to teach you, where I can guarantee you success, is you have to work it as a closed system. Okay, so let me show you what a closed system now looks like. We're going to do the same thing. I'm going to roll the dice trying to get a 2, but here's what I'm going to do. Every time I get a number that's not a 2, I'm going to put one of these stickers on it. Now, every time I roll, if a sticker comes up, we aren't going to count it as a throw. We get a free throw. Now, here's the thing. Because this is my game, I can make the rules. No different than in your real estate career, you get to set the rules for what you want your business to look like. You get to decide. Well, that's the same thing I'm doing here. This is my game. I get to decide the rules. And the rule that I'm going to make is I'm going to turn this into a closed system. Okay. So what that looks like is I'm going to roll it. And if I roll something that is not a 6, we're going to put a sticker on it. If I roll it after that and the sticker shows up, free throw. Doesn't count. So now let's see how many times I have to roll it to get a 2. Okay. Okay, there's a 4. So now I'm going to take this sticker. I'm going to put a sticker on the 4. Except for I'm tearing the thing off here. I'm not sure how well it's going to stick. All right. So I put a sticker on the 4. So if that shows up again, we don't count it. So I've rolled 1 time. There's the 1. So now I've rolled it 2 times. I'm going to put a sticker on the 1. Let's see what happens. Okay, there's a 5. So now I've rolled it 3 times. I'm going to put another sticker on. Let's see what happens. There's a 6. So I've rolled it 4 times. I'm going to put another sticker on. This is actually a really good analogy, guys, of how this works for your SOI too. Okay, so there's a sticker. So free throw. Sticker, free throw. Sticker, free throw. So how many times have I rolled it? 4? Okay, free throw. So I've still only rolled 4 times. Free throw. These stickers must be weighting it to where it won't come up with a 2. All right, there's the 3. So now I'm putting another sticker on. So I've rolled it 5 times. Now, how many times am I going to have to roll it to get the 2? There it is. The 2 just showed up. So I rolled it 6 times to get the 2. Now let's do it again. How many times am I going to have to roll to get a 2? Notice that.
Once.
1. Now let's do it one more time just because. Free throw. I mean, you guys know what's going to happen, right? Free throw.
It's a lot of time spent, but it's only technically 1 roll.
Yeah, now I'll explain it. Okay, there we go. So boom, I just got a 2. Now, all of a sudden, it's either I get a free throw or a 2. Now, notice what happened though. So let me draw this up here for a second to make sure you guys see what just took place. Remember this? That was horribly drawn, but remember that? Remember I said the first little while you're going to do a bunch of work that feels like you're getting nothing from it, and then all of a sudden it's going to go like that? Well, that's essentially what we just did. I had to kind of pay my dues to get it to the point that now every time I roll is going to be either a free throw or a 2. Now, that's a closed system. So here's the difference though. With your sphere of influence, Greg made a comment about it was a lot of work, but it was only one roll.
A lot of time.
Yeah, or a lot of time, sorry. It was a lot of time but only one roll. The difference in how you're going to do your SOI is you're going to figure out how to not put in all the extra time. And I'll show you what that looks like as we go through it, okay? All right. So here's the next piece on this. So we're back to your SOI here, and I'm going to give you the 4 protocols here. So the first protocol is that working your sphere of influence you have to work it as a closed system. Now, I'll explain what that means, but it has to be worked as a closed system. Now, when I say that it has to be a closed system, what that means is that it has to be fixed in size, okay? So that's what's going to make it a closed system, which, by the way, we've done all the hard math, if you don't like math, so you know, okay? We've done all the hard math. That's what makes it a closed system, is the fact that we have to have a set number of people in it, okay? So here's what I'm going to tell you. For the sake of you learning it, the number is 200, okay? You need to have 200 people in your sphere of influence. Now, if somebody's out there watching this, or you guys sitting in here was to think, oh, well, I don't have 200 people in my sphere of influence. Don't worry. I'm going to help you with that too, okay? But the first protocol is that it has to have 200 people. So now let me make sure you guys understand. Let's say I've got 200 people in my sphere of influence. And what happens is one of them goes and gets their real estate license.
Then you need to find another one.
So, yep. So now I have 199 people, which means Joanna said, I got to go find a new one. That's right. What happens with this though? I've got 200 people. And let's say that Greg calls me on the phone and says, hey, Russ, I've got a friend that wants to buy a house. You should give him a call. And I call them up and they go, yeah, we do, but we're not quite ready yet. We're probably going to be in the next year. Am I just going to go, oh, well, I already have 200 people, so I'm not going to add you to it? No, so I'm going to add them. So what do I have to do then? Because now I have 201. So what do I have to do?
Go through, get rid of one.
Good, thanks. That's right. Remember, because it's a closed system. A closed system means that you can only have 200 people. So yes, thanks, Ginger. You would also eliminate past clients who have, yeah, exactly right. Yes, for sure. Eliminate the people who used another agent. So good. Yeah, so keep in mind, protocol number 1 is it has to be a closed system. Your sphere of influence has to be fixed in size. Can't have 201, can't have 199. Now, the only caveat to that, which again, remember I said that sometimes we end up rounding the corners? The only caveat to this, and this is one of the areas, so be careful with how you interpret what I'm about to say, because this is one of the areas that if you're not careful, you'll interpret what I say wrong, and then it won't work for you. So I'll make sure I say it. It's okay if you were brand new. So Josh, you got your license when?
So I've had it for years.
Oh, you have. Okay. So let's say that I'm brand new. I'm a brand new agent. I just barely moved to Utah. I have nobody in my sphere of influence. I know 3 or 4 people. It is okay to build it up to 200, but you got to be building it. It's got to be consistently being built. So why I say that is what I don't want you to do is interpret, oh, Russ said it's fine if my closed system only has 10. That's not what I said. You got to get to 200 as fast as you can. Okay. So how are you going to get to 200? Prospecting. You're going to go talk to people. You're going to do open houses. You're going to do just listed, just sold calls. You're going to get on and do internet leads. Like, I don't care. Get to 200 people as fast as you can. Okay. Now, that's the first protocol. So protocol number 1 is I got to get to 200. Now, let me show you why this is so powerful and how this works. Okay. So I'm going to open up another page here. Get another square going. Now, here's the key on this. Don't forget, the number's got to be 200. Now, here's the thing. Once you get to, actually, let me go back to this. Once you get to this point right here, where it's working, and I had told you can count on a 6-digit income after it's working, which is going to take 6 to 9 months for you to, so like I'm saying, you're going to put in effort for 6 to 9 months, but then it's going to really start to pay off and should continue to pay off for a long time. And remember yesterday that Ginger had asked the question of me of, did I stay in touch with the people that moved to Australia and then back to Utah and then to Chicago and back to Utah? Did I stay in touch with them the whole time? And I said, no, I didn't. The reason why I'm telling you that it works is and why they called me after, I mean, it was from when I sold their house to when they came back and just are using me now to go buy a property, has been at least 15 years, but probably closer to 20 since that happened. And yet they called me. Why? Because I did exactly what I'm going to teach you guys in. And so early on in the process, it takes time to get it to work. But once it starts to work, you can count on it for a long time. Okay, so here's why that is, or how that works, okay, is this. So for the sake of the math of what I'm going to show you, we're going to use 100 as the number of people. But remember, it's 200. I'm just showing you 100 right now to keep the math simple for you, to make sure. So I'm going to show you how powerful this is. Now, here's what we're going to assume. We're going to assume that out of those 100 people, 50 are what I call green and 50 are what I call red. Okay. Now, let me define a green versus a red. Okay. A green is somebody who is either going to do business with you or refer business to you. So they're either going to do a transaction with you or they're going to refer somebody to you. Okay. A red is somebody who is not going to do that. Now, you might ask the question, so I'll preempt it in case you are going to ask it, although maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I should just wait and see if you ask. But on this one, I'm going to give you the answer. After this, I'll wait and see if you ask. Typically, somebody would ask, well, why would you even have any red in there if they're not going to buy or sell with you or refer to you? So very similar to the dice here of rolling the dice in an open system without the stickers, of keep rolling and rolling and rolling and rolling up the numbers that are not a 2. Why would you ever do that? Well, on the dice, you don't know. But in terms of the people here, keep in mind that a green is somebody who's going to do a transaction with you, a red is not. Now, it really doesn't matter where you start on the percentages of this. For the sake of us doing it just in the sake of time, I'm going to start it that we're at 50% red and 50% green. Now, the truth is, depending on how you build your sphere of influence, it might be dramatically worse than that, meaning you might have very few green and a ton of red. It really doesn't matter, though, because if you'll follow the process I'm going to show you, you'll eventually get there. You're also going to see with what I'm showing you right now why it could take 6 to 9 months. There's a couple of reasons that it can take 6 to 9 months before it's going to pay off. But you'll see that it really doesn't, it wouldn't matter if I started this with 100 red and 0 green. It would be fine. It might take a little longer to mature. The word that I like to use is mature, to mature it. And I would define maturing it as being this point right here, that's 6 to 9 months. So if you started it at ground zero, it might take the full 9 months, but it's still going to work. Okay. All right. So let's say that I go do some prospecting, and doesn't matter what type it is, just I go do some form of prospecting. Okay. And along the way, I come across, let's just say 10 leads. Okay. And of those 10 leads, what percentage, what would be an okay amount for us to say of the 10 leads that end up being green? So let's just say you go out and you meet 10 people, you get 10 leads over a year's time frame. What percentage of those would you say would be an okay, fair number for us to use to say is going to either do a transaction with you or refer someone to you? And there's not a right answer, just
1 or 2.
okay, 1 or 2. Anybody else have any other thoughts? I'll use 1 or 2. I don't care. It doesn't matter. But let's do 2 then. Okay. Now watch what happens. Nobody has heartburn with 2, right? Nobody's gonna be like, oh, you'll never get 2. Everybody's okay with that? Okay, good. So now watch what happens. So what we're gonna say, oops, did not mean to do that. What we're gonna say is that we met 10 people and we added all 10 of them to this database, okay? So we're gonna add all 10, and we don't know how many are gonna end up being green, meaning like when we add them, our belief is they're all green. We're gonna get paid from all of them. But the truth is we're not going to. Some of them are gonna fade away, some can't qualify, whatever, okay? So, but we're gonna say that over the course of a year, 2 of them are gonna turn green, okay? So, but we add all 10 because we don't know which ones are going to be green and which ones are red until we've worked with them a little bit. So here's what happens is we add 10, we think we're adding 10 green, but we're going to pretend we had a crystal ball and we could see into the future. If we did that, we wouldn't do what I'm about to say, but we end up adding 8 that are red and we add 2 that are green. Okay. So if that's the case, look at what happens here. So I now have 58 red and 52 green. Now, somebody pull out a calculator and do the math on this for me and divide, oops, gotta fix what I did there. Divide the number of 58 into 110 and tell me what the percentage is. Because remember we started up here at a 50% red and 50% green. So what is it, Jonah?
Rounds up to 53%.
53. Okay. So now notice what just happened. This is the problem with an open system, by the way, which means that we're now at 47% here. Look at what just happened. To start off with, so let me make sure you guys understand what happened. I had 100 people that I have to work. Okay. So I'm working 100 people. 50% are red, 50% are green. I just added 10 people to my database. Now, this is the problem with an open database or an open system, by the way. And look at what happened. So my workload just went from 100 to 110. So I just increased my workload by 10%. You see that? To get 53% less or 3% less. So I'm now at 53. So notice I went from 50 to 53%. This went from 50 to 47. So I'm doing 10% more work to get 3% less return on my work. Can you see that that's not a good thing? To do 10% more to get 3% less. But what's our first protocol? What was our number 1 protocol?
To have a closed system.
Okay, good. Yeah, it has to be a closed system, right? So in a closed system, what does that mean then? I have to do what? What do I got to do to fix this problem? I can't have 100. Remember, it's closed. I can't have 110. I only can have 100.
You have to get rid of 10.
Okay, good. Thank you. So I've got to get rid of 10. Which 10 should I get rid of? Should I get rid of any green?
No.
Yeah, no, right? Everybody's clear on that. So I got to get rid of 10 red. Now I'll talk more about how to know in just a bit. So I now subtract 10 red, which means now I have 48% or 48 people that are red and 52 that are green. So now the reason I'm using 100 is so we don't have to keep using our calculator to do the math. Notice what just happened now. Now I have 100 people still. So notice I've got 100 people, but my percentage just went up to 52 from 50 and down to 48 from 50. Now, let's say we had a really lucky week next week and I go out and I meet 10 people, and let's just say for whatever reason, just but for the sake of this class, that I add 10 more people to my database. And as I add the 10, let's say this time, just we lucked out big time. I get it. But just to really demonstrate what I'm showing you the power of this, that we add 8 that are green and only 2 that are red. So I have to add, I have to add 2 red. So I'm at 50 and 8 green. So I'm at 60. But again, now I'm at 110 and so I have to subtract. So I get rid of 10 red again. So now I'm at 40 red, 60 green, and I still have 100 people. Can you see what just happened? Look what my percentage is now. 40% red, 60% green. What's going to happen if week after week I keep doing this? I keep adding people and getting rid of the reds. What's going to happen to the green?
100% green.
Yeah. Now here's the thing. I will tell you, you're probably never going to hit 100% green. Just know you're probably, I mean, it's possible. I'm not saying it's not possible, but you're probably never going to get to 100% green because people are going to die. People are going to move out of state. People are going to get their real estate license. People's spouse is going to get their real estate license. Some of these people that you have in your database here are going to turn, I probably should have gone on the green side, are going to turn red because they moved out of state. Their spouse got their real estate license, so they're not going to use you. Like there's just going to be things that come up along the way. So just know you're probably never going to hit it to the point that you're 100% green. But I do know people who got to a high percentage of green. Okay, and I'll share with you about one of the ladies that I trained in this, who I think probably does it the best of anybody I've trained in it. And some of you from Utah may or may not know her, but her name is Tonya Messina. She owns her own brokerage now, and she probably does this the best of anybody that I've ever seen. And her business now is 100% done just off of what we're talking about. And she is in excess, well, I don't know recently. The last time I checked, she was in excess of $300,000 a year in income doing just what we're talking about. That's it. Okay. Now, so first protocol is what?
Closed system.
Got to be a closed system. All right, let's see. Ginger said, from someone in the business a long time, do you ever increase your closed system number above 200? Great question, Ginger. Yes, you can. And so typically what I would say is that working as a solo agent, the most you would ever go to is 300 people in your database. So yes, so in fact, that's a great segue for where I was going to head to. Once it gets to this point here where it's matured that I was telling you guys about, once it has matured, then you can adjust your number of people from the 200 to whatever you want it to be. So you could change this number to be whatever you want it to be. Now, what you will see though, Ginger, as we start to get into this, is that you're probably not going to want it to be much above 300. The magic in the system is that it's a closed system. So the number isn't as crucial as the fact as it being a closed system. But what you're going to see as we start to get into protocols number 2 is that in protocol number 2, you're going to go, yeah, I don't want to put that much effort into 500 people or something. So that's the other side of this. Okay. Now, for Tonya that I was telling you about, that she was doing over 300,000 a year, her number actually was 97 people. So your number can, once it's mature, once it's working for you, change it to any number you want. So change it up, change it down, however you want to do it. But to get it working, do it at 200. And the reason that I say do it at 200 is because what I have found, remember I said people will come and learn it and get excited about it and then not go do it. Part of where the not doing it comes from is that they have 1,000 people in there and they're like, yeah, I'm just not going to do that much effort. Okay. So, all right. So protocol number 1 has to be a closed system, has to be fixed in size. Now, let me show you real quick, and then I'm going to get into protocol.
If you have 1,000, Russ, shouldn't you refine it?
Yes.
200 or 300?
Yes. Thank you. So that's probably.
And then save the others off to the side.
Yes.
As possible.
Yep. So let me repeat in case you guys didn't hear what Greg said. If you have currently 1,000 people in your database, identify 200 of them that you're going to put into, I used to refer to this as my jelly bean jar. So take the 1,000 and decide which 200 are going to be in your jelly bean jar, or your, say this SOI, decide on 200. And then as you go through and sort through them, that's the reason I call it the jelly bean jar, is I would sort through them. Is I would sort, as you sort through them and get rid of some of the first 200 you identified, you could replace them with the other 800 that are sitting out there. But yeah, but don't try to work 1,000 as to what I'm saying, because what I have found is you just won't do it. That's the reason I say 200, is people just won't do it if it's bigger than that typically. Now, once you see the power of it, you might. But then there's Tonya that I was telling you about, that on the flip side, Tonya only has 97 people and she makes over $300,000 a year, because she's decided that's the amount of effort she wants to put into the database. So once it's working, you can adjust it to whatever you want. I will tell you though, my experience has been, if you get below 75 people, it won't work. It doesn't have the same power. So, and not that 75 is the magic number, but in that range. You start to get below that, there's just not enough people in there to generate it. And so that's why I say you got to do 200 to get it going though. So that this is one of the first areas, remember that I said people get excited and then they leave and then they never build it to 200. You got to get it to the 200 and get it there as quick as you can. So you go prospect to get it there as quick as you can. And I'll say more about how well, let's do that right now. The way you're going to get people in it, whatever type of prospecting you're doing, I don't care what it is, any prospecting, anybody that you don't get an appointment with, think of it this way. When you prospect, we want to be prospecting on two parallel tracks. I want to be looking for now business, but I also want to be looking for future business at the same time. So my now business is I'm trying to set an appointment. Remember we talked about that? The future is I just want to capture them as a lead. Okay. So here's what you want to do. When you're prospecting, you want to go out and be talking to people. Your first objective is I want to set an appointment. Your primary objective is set an appointment. My secondary objective, if I can't get an appointment, is I want to get them into my database. And here's what that is. The script that I use for that is this. In order for us to determine whether or not I can help you, no, sorry, I just kicked into the needs analysis script. Sorry, here's my, the script is, I have a select group of people. Sorry, I didn't even realize I was saying the wrong script. That's how bad that is. I have a select group of people. So that's what you want to start with, is I have a select group of people that I stay in touch with. So I have a select group of people that I stay in touch with about real estate. I have a select group of people that I stay in touch with about real estate. I would like to add you to that list. And then would that be okay? So I have a select group of people that I stay in touch with about real estate. The reason you're saying a select group of people is that it sounds special. Okay. I have a select group of people that I stay in touch with about real estate. I would like to add you to the list. Now, let me give you one other one that you can use. And then at the end of that, I say, would that be okay? Okay. So when I'm just out in my general prospecting, that's how I do it. I've got a select group of people that I stay in touch with. I'd like to add you to that list. Would that be okay? They're typically going to say yes to that. Okay. Now, in terms of people that you know, the people that you know, how I'm going to approach it is I'm going to approach it by saying, hey, I was setting my goals for 2021, or I was looking at my goals for 2021, trying to decide how I want to run my business for 2021, something like that. So this is what you're going to be saying to people that you know, okay? And I've decided I want my business to be primarily referral dependent, okay? I want my business to be primarily referral dependent. I'm putting together a select group of people, and then now it blends into the other one. I'm putting together a select group of people that I stay in touch with about real estate. I'd like to add you to the list. Would that be okay? So with the people you know, you're basically just starting with, hey, the other way you could do it is I just went to a class and learned some things about how I want to run my business. And what I have realized or learned is I want my business to be primarily referral dependent. And so I'm going to put together a select group of people. So you can just say some version of that, however you want it to sound like. But with the people you know, just saying, hey, I've found my business that I enjoy doing is when it's a referral from friends and family. So I'm going to put together a select group of people that I stay in touch with about real estate. And I'd like to add you to that list. Would that be okay? They're going to say yes. And here's the beautiful thing. The other reason people don't go do this is they don't want to make that phone call to the people they know because they don't want to be told no. I don't want to feel like I'm pushing them. I don't want them to think that I'm, a Amway salesperson, whatever. Here's the good news. If you call them up and you said, hey, I want my business to be primarily referral dependent and I would putting together a select group of people and I'd like to add you to that list, would that be okay? If they say no, guess what? It's a free throw. That's the idea of this dice with the sticker on it. See, you just figured out, wouldn't you rather know? So let me just have you answer this question. Wouldn't you rather know today that somebody's not going to use you for real estate 6 months from now? Wouldn't you rather know today than drive by their house 6 months from now and you see somebody else's for sale sign in the front yard? Like I would. I'd rather just know today so that in 6 months, when their for sale sign shows up, I don't feel bad. Otherwise, what happens, and this still happens to me today, guys, by the way, I'm not working my database the way I'm telling you to do it right now. I'm not doing that because my focus is training you guys. But I'll tell you, in my neighborhood, when I see a for sale sign go up and it's somebody that I know in my neighborhood pretty good, and it's not my sign, I got to tell you, I'm still a little offended by it. But then I step back and go, okay, but what have I done to create the relationship for them to want to call and use me? Well, in the last 15 years, I've done nothing. So I guess I shouldn't feel so bad that they didn't call me. See, but so for you, what I'm saying is call them and find out now, hey, if you had a real estate need, would you be willing to use me? And if they say yes, then great. If they say no, guess what? You just found a free throw. You don't have to worry about it. When a sign shows up in their front yard, you don't have to feel bad because you already knew they weren't going to use you. Okay? All right. Next, then. Any questions on that before I go to protocol number 2? Any other questions? I feel like I'm started to say something and I didn't finish it, but I don't know if that's true or not. Did I?
No, I mean, not for me.
Okay. All right.
Something about the 2 parallel tracks.
No, I covered that. Other than I guess I would just make sure on the 2 parallel tracks that if you don't get an appointment, then you want to say, I have a select group of people that I stay in touch with to keep updated on real estate. I'd like to add you to that list. Some people are going to tell you yes just to get you off the phone or to get you off the doorstep, wherever, to not talk to you. So that's why, by the way, this happens where some of these end up being red that we thought were green. They said yes just to get you to leave. But I'll show you how you're going to figure that out as we go through this. Okay. All right. So number 2, the second protocol to this is, which is related to what we were just talking about, is permission. You have to get permission from all 200 people to be into your database. So the second protocol is you just got to get permission. Permission looks like what we just talked about. Hey, I was, if I'm calling somebody I know, was thinking about my business for 2021 and I've decided I want it to be primarily referral dependent. I could use your help. If you have a real estate need or if you hear of somebody, all right, would you be willing to use me? Yep, great. I'm going to put together a select group of people. What it means is I'm going to stay in touch with you, keep you updated on the market, what's going on. And is that okay? They say yes, great. That's what we're going to do then. All right, do we have a question or no? Guess not? Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
I have a few questions.
Fire away.
Okay, so if you've been in the business for a while, you've accumulated a lot of past clients. And so past clients, would they always go in this list? Would they only go in this list if you can reach them and they agree to be part of your group, that's going to use you again or refer you? What would you do when you've accumulated a lot of past clients?
Okay, good. Great question. Yes. So protocol number 2 says we got to have permission. So because of that, yes, I would say what you want to do now, to some extent, you may already kind of know you have permission, meaning if you've already been staying in touch with those past clients and been keeping them updated and stuff, in essence, you've already gotten permission. So I don't know that with a past client that I would be as concerned of the actual phone call of saying, you know, I'm putting together a select group of people, blah, blah, blah. Meaning if they're already doing this for you, you're probably okay to not worry about having to call them and say specifically that, because in essence, or let me say it differently. If they've already been giving you referrals, yeah, you don't need to call up and be like, hey, I'm putting together a select group of people. I want to know if I could count on you if you had a referral, because they're going to be like, well, yeah, I've already been doing that. So those ones I wouldn't worry as much about per se that. But if there's here's how I'd say it, Ginger. If there's a question in your mind at all as to if they would use you again, you need to get permission. You need to call them and say, hey, I want to put together a select group of people. Now, I know we have some people on here that are seasoned agents that have closed transactions and just didn't stay in touch with the people. Those ones, you got to call and get permission from. So if you have not stayed in touch with them, you got to call and get permission by calling and saying, hey, I just wanted to touch base, see how your family's doing. And I would just, same thing. I've decided I want my business to be primarily referral dependent. So I'm calling through all my past clients, wanted to touch base and see how you guys are doing and see if you had a real estate need or if you heard of anybody, if you'd still be willing to use me or refer to me. And they'll say yes. And then you go, great. I'm going to put together I'll stay in touch with you, keep you updated on the market. And if you have any questions or you know of anybody, let me know. Okay. Talk to you later. Bye.
Okay, so if I have attempted over the years to call them and I've left them voicemails and they've never picked up the phone or called me back, then that's a no. Take them off.
I would either say take them off. I mean, if you wanted to try one more time, would be okay. But yeah, if you don't hear back from them, absolutely get rid of them. They're red. They're telling you they're red. Okay, good. Any other questions from anyone? All right, let's go to number 3 then. So permission is number 2. You got to get permission from all the people that go in there. Now, next, number 3. Protocol number 3 is you have to have contact with this group 1 time per month, email, mail, I'm debating on counting. Yeah, I'm not going to. Okay, 1 time a month by either email or snail mail. Okay, so you've got to send them either an email every month or some type of a mailing every month. And you can mix those up too, by the way. It's fine if you wanted to do 2 months of email and 1 month of mail. Like, that's fine. But some combination of that, of mail or email to them once a month. And 1 time per month personal contact. So let me define that. 1 time per month needs to be either in person you talk to them, a text message to them would be okay as well, provided they reply to your text, then you could count it. If they don't reply, then I'll tell you what to do as well. But you need, so either a phone call, a text, or an in-person conversation with them. Now, let me show you what that looks like. Now, and as long as you have permission from them, as long as they've given you permission, it is okay to leave a voicemail or, like I said, to shoot them a text. Now, here's what the contact needs to look like, though. So let's say that I am calling Joanna, and let me show you what it looks like. So you've given me permission to stay in touch. Okay, so it's been a month now, and I've mailed her something, and I'll talk more about what to mail to. So ring.
Hello.
Hey, this is Russ. How's it going?
It's going good. How about you?
Hey, doing fantastic. Hey, I just was giving you a quick call. I told you I was going to be sending you some information, staying in touch about the market. I wanted to make sure that you got the email that I sent to you.
Yeah, I did receive it.
Okay, good. So did you have any questions or anything from what I'd sent to you?
No, it was just pretty interesting.
Just interesting information. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Well, hey, is there anything I can do to help you with real estate or anyone you know?
No, not at this time.
Okay, good. Awesome. Well, hey, if you think of anything or if you hear of anybody, just let me know.
Okay, well,
Okay, talk to you later.
thank you.
Like essentially that's all it has to be. So then the next month goes by. Ring, ring.
Hello.
Hey, Joanna, this is Russ. How's it going?
It's going good. How about you?
Good. Hey, just checking in with you to see if you had any real estate needs, anything I could help you with.
No, not at this time.
Okay, no worries. How's the family?
They're great. Thank you.
Good. Hey, I saw on Facebook you were in Mexico last week. How was Mexico?
It was a good time.
That's awesome, man. I'm so jealous. I wish I was down in the sun. But hey, anyway, good talking to you. Now I'm short circuiting a little bit. You could sit and chit chat with them and stuff like that. And you could do that first if you want, and then just say, hey, well, is there anybody you know of that I could be helping or should be helping in terms of real estate? Nope. Okay. Talk to you later. Now, so essentially that's it. You don't need it to be anything beyond, hey, just giving you a call to see if there's anything I can help you with. Now I'll say more about what to send and stuff in just a second. Okay. But that's essentially it. Now, some of the people that you don't know that you have prospected and come across, yeah, good question, Ginger. Give me 1 sec. I'll answer. Some of the people that you just were prospecting randomly out knocking on doors or making phone calls, and you've put them into the database, you're going to call them the next month and they're just not going to answer. And you're going to leave them a message and say, call me back, and they're not going to call you back. And like, that's how you're going to start to figure out their red. But I'll come back to that too in just a second. So, all right. So Ginger asked, how do you treat couples? Good question. There's not a right answer for this, by the way. You can do it as treating them as one, putting them into the same group, or you could count them as two. If you're going to count them as two though, you have to talk to both of them too. So you got to follow the process. So Ginger, there's not a right answer. It's kind of like what I found for me. There were some people that I would call both because I kind of had a little bit of a relationship with both of them. And meaning like some of my cousins or family members, stuff like that. Nephew and his spouse or something. I might call both of them. But others that I was like, I really only kind of have the connection with the one person, so I'm just going to do them. So there's not a right or a wrong. However you decide you want to do it is okay on that one. So great question, Bill. All right. So what to send? Now, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what you send. Like, let me preface it with, it really doesn't matter what you send. But with that being said, I'm going to tell you what I found worked the best and what I did. So, for me, what happened is there was a guy coming around trying to sell Top Producer, which some of you guys may or may not know what Top Producer is. But back then, Top Producer was a program that you would buy the floppy disks and to load it onto your computer. And so it wasn't an internet-based program. So you'd buy the program, you would load it onto your computer, everything was stored on your computer. This guy came to my office and he was trying to sell it. Well, I had already purchased Top Producer at that point because I had loved it and used it all the time. But when he was there at our office trying to sell it to some of the agents, one of the things that he said is, I'm going to give you guys the best idea to work your SOI and none of you are going to go do it. And I was like, okay, I don't care what he says. I'm going to do it. If it's this guy travels office to office and he says it's the best he's ever heard, I'm going to do it. And here's what he said, is send a mailing to your database every month of homes that are for sale in their neighborhood, under contract in their neighborhood, and sold in their neighborhood. He said, if you will do that, is the best thing you could send to your SOI. But he said, but none of you are going to do it. But it's the best thing you could ever do. Well, at the time, I had an assistant, and I didn't quite need a full-time 40 hours a week assistant, but I had hired my sister-in-law, my wife's sister. And so her job was, I was paying her 40 hours a week. So I was like, well, guess what your new task is? And so I told her, you're going to put this together for the database that I had. And so what I did is I went through and created, based on where the people lived, like I pulled up a map and then I figured out what I wanted for what I defined as their neighborhood. and just looking at a map, I defined based on if they live right here, these are the streets that I'm going to send to them. Then I had my assistant every month go into the MLS and she would pull for that area. So she had put into coordinates into a spreadsheet to where monthly she would go do it. Now I wouldn't do it that way today. Today, how I would do it is I would go use Zap. In Zap has home value updates, and I would just put people onto a home value update. And then I'd send it to them. Or you could go into the MLS and set up a search criteria for them. That's the other option you could do. This is how I would probably do it today. Because if you're using Zap, you can only send them the active properties. If you go to the MLS, you could go and create a search criteria for them that is based upon their neighborhood, and you could set it up so that it'll email them the actives, the under contracts, and the solds. It's going to be a little more work to do it through the MLS, but I think it's probably a better process even than doing the Zap. But Zap's quick and easy. You can just go ahead and put their address to home value updates, and it'll start to send them. Now,
What do you send them, a client full report for each property?
that's how I did it, yes. For the MLS, for you guys in Utah, I would use the client full. For you guys in California, you want to send them the information that doesn't show who the listing agent is. And I don't know what you guys would call that. Is there somebody from California, BJ, or somebody that, is there a way to send to people properties that doesn't show who the listing is, that like shows courtesy of you?
Yeah, I believe there is. I've done a couple times, but I just don't remember. Somebody did help me on that, but there is a way to do that.
Okay, so but that's how I would do it if I were you in California. For Utah, it's the client full report. You just use the client full, and it sends all the information, but it says courtesy of or presented by. Do you remember what it says, Greg? I think it says presented by.
Yeah.
Is it presented by, Josh? Yeah. So it says presented by and has your name. So that way, and the reason I want it to be that way is that then they think it's me that has all those properties. That
Your name and a big phone number.
Yeah, and my phone number. Yep. Okay, that's my recommendation. Now, remember, I started it by saying it really doesn't matter what you send to them. The whole purpose of the sending to them is so that they get this thing in either the mail or the email from you that reminding them you're in real estate. But by doing the properties to them, what I found is they then start to think you are the market expert for their neighborhood. You know everything that's going on in their neighborhood because you're sending that to them. So that's how I would recommend that you do it. Okay. Any questions on protocol number 3 on the contact once a month and by mail or email and personal?
So on an email, you would just attach as a PDF the client full report.
So yeah, good question. So if I'm going to do it as an email to them, how I would recommend you do it is go set up a search, a saved search. So for you guys in California, set up a portal, but for Utah, go do a saved search. We call it an auto hot sheet. Set up an auto hot sheet for them so that you could just go in once a month and click run, and it'll pull since the last run and then send. And then I would just email it right out of the MLS. Like, honestly, if it were me today doing it, that's how I would go about this. And I promise you, it's going to take a little time to go get that set up in the MLS to set up the hot sheets. But once you have it set up, it's a matter of click run, email, click run, email, and it'll run it since the last time so that once a month you're sending it to them, and you're sending them the actives, the under contracts, and the solds since the last time. You become like you sell it. In their mind, they start thinking you sell every house in there. And I don't try to make it sound like that. Like when I'm talking to them, I'm not going to be like, hey, did you see the properties I sold? I would never do that. But I would call and say, hey, did you have any questions about the activity in your area? But I just learned, even if you tell them I didn't sell these properties, and that's how I did it. My first mailing to them, I had a cover letter because back then we couldn't do this on the MLS. So my assistant would go do it and print it off, and then we would mail it to them. And the cover letter the first time said, I may or may not have been involved in the sales of these properties. This is just to let you know most of the properties were probably sold by another brokerage. It's just for your information. But people, regardless of you telling them that, they still go, oh yeah, you sell every house in my neighborhood. And I didn't know that till I just did it, that's what happened. Okay. All right. What other questions? Let's see. Oh, no, I thought I had another question on the chat box. Nope. No other questions? You guys ready for the next one then? All right, this one is the one, number 4 is the one that, remember I said, come back over and over again because you'll forget this piece. In fact, actually, let me test BJ because he's my buddy, right? We're buddies, BJ. Oh, he's not listening anymore.
Sorry. I was helping. So, what's up?
That's okay. We're buddies, right?
Yes, we're buddies.
Can I put you on the spot?
Yes, you can put me on the spot.
All right. What is the purpose of me making the phone call every month?
The purpose of making the phone calls?
Yep. What am I trying to get out of it?
Well, you're trying to get leads. You're trying to get business clients.
Okay. Thank you for coming back to class because you forgot already.
So they will remember that he's in real estate?
Nope. See? Greg said an appointment.
He's
Nope.
expert.
Nope.
He's an expert in the market.
Nope.
Just so they remember your name. They remember
But
your
that's
name.
gonna, so Bunny, that is gonna be a side effect, but that's not why I'm calling. So BJ,
What are you calling for? Just to inform?
well, hold on. Let me ask you a question. What was the name of that place you and I went and ate lunch when I was down there doing the training that you were there?
Oh, that Mexican spot you're talking about.
No, it was
Which one?
it was like a barbecue place.
Oh, CJ's Barbecue.
Sunny's. Was that it? Sunny's?
CJ's Barbecue.
Yeah. Okay. You owe me next time when Governor Newsom ever lifts the orders down there and I can come back, you owe me lunch. I'm teasing. All right. Here's the 4th protocol. Now, this is counterintuitive. So this is the opposite of what you would think. And remember, I said, you guys are going to forget. And so I just tested BJ. So I'm glad you're back in class because you failed the test. But
I did,
and I'm kidding.
miserably.
But here's the thing. So let's see. Kyle said to see if they qualify to be in your SOI still. Say more about that, Kyle. What do you mean? You're on the right track.
Oh, you want a closed system. You try to put them in and take them out. Got it.
Yes. Now BJ remembers. Good job. Okay. So here's the purpose. The purpose of my phone call every month is not to set an appointment. It is not to try to keep them. It is to kind of keep them remembering me. That's not totally true. But the real reason for me to call, the whole purpose of me calling is I'm looking for red. Remember we defined red as people who are not going to do business with you? The purpose of my phone call every month is I'm trying to figure out who I can get rid of. So the purpose of the phone call is not to find the people who are going to do business with me. It's to find the people that I can put a sticker on this and get a free throw. See, it's the opposite of what you think. Now, here's why that is. The reason I'm calling looking for the people who are red is because if I call hoping to set an appointment, if I call hoping to get something out of it, what happens if they tell me, yeah, don't ever call me again? But what do you feel like though? If you're calling trying to get an appointment and they tell you, don't ever call me again, what does it make you feel like inside? Yeah, rejected, right?
Yeah.
Like you feel like, oh, shoot, I just lost one. But if I'm calling saying, okay, look, I want to figure out, remember, it's no different than me rolling this dice. See, when I was rolling the dice, when I was doing it with the stickers, I was hoping to not get a 2. And the reason is because the faster I get rid of the people, so think of it this way for you guys. The faster you get rid of the people who are not going to refer business or do business with you, the better off you are. And if you call looking for green, you'll try to convince yourself that they're green. But if you're calling trying to figure out who the red are, then you're looking for red. See, the purpose of my call is to figure out who I never have to call again. Now, it's not like I want them to be red. I probably implied that a little too much, that I want them to be red. It's not that I want them to be red, but I want to figure out who the red are so that I can get rid of them and I don't have to waste my time calling them anymore. Because here's the thing. If I get rid of a red and replace them, anybody is better than a red. Now, how do you know if they're red?
They don't respond.
Okay, good. Joanna said if they don't respond. So that's exactly right. if I call and I leave a message, now let me make sure that I say this though. It is okay to leave a message once you have permission. So I call Greg. He doesn't answer the phone. Greg, this is Russ. Hey, just was giving you a call because I wanted to see if you had any questions about real estate, anything I could help you with. Now, if he doesn't, he's probably not going to call me back, right? But he's also not going to call me back if he has no plans on ever using me or referring people to me. So I'm okay that he doesn't call me back. If the next month I try to call and he doesn't answer, I leave a message. Hey, Greg, this is Russ, Century 21, just checking in, seeing if you had any real estate needs I could help you with. Give me a call. He doesn't call back. I'm still okay with it. Third month, I call. Hey, Greg, this is Russ, just touching base, seeing if you had any real estate questions or if you've heard of anybody thinking of buying or selling, let me know. Talk to you later. He doesn't call me back. So now I'm keeping notes on this, right? I get to the fourth month. Here's how I handle it. On month 4, I'm going to call Greg. I get his voicemail. Hey, Greg, this is Russ, Orchard, Century 21. I've got a really important question for you. Give me a call back. Is he going to call me back?
Maybe.
So yeah, good. So Joanna said maybe. Why maybe?
Because they want to know what that important question is.
Okay, good. If he calls back because he wants to know what the important question is, that's a good sign. What if he has no plans of ever using me or referring people to me? Is he going to call me back? Nope. Guess what he just told me?
He's a red.
He's red. See, that's why you call looking for red. If you were calling looking for green, you'll keep calling him for the rest of your life, getting a voicemail. Hey, call me back. And he's on the other end, listening to it going, gosh, I wish this guy would quit calling me. So that's why for me, you can decide how many you want to give him. For me, it was 3 strikes because I'm a baseball guy. So I give him 3 strikes. Then on the 4th one, I'm calling saying, I got a really important question. Call me back. Now, what is my really important question if he calls me back?
I've got a referral business now, which would it be okay if I stay in contact with you?
Okay, good. So hold on, but I've already said that to him and gotten permission. Because remember, I can't leave a message if I don't have permission. So I already had permission. So you're on the right track though. What's my really important question for Greg when he calls me?
If you had a real estate need, would you be willing to call me?
Yeah, essentially it's this.
Right.
Are you okay? Here's what it is. So watch, call me back, Greg. So I've left you the message. I got a really important question. Call me back.
Hey, Russ.
Hey, Greg, how's it going?
Good. What's going on?
Hey, I just was giving you a call because I've been sending you these mailings. I've left you a few messages and I haven't heard from you, which is okay. I just want to make sure you're still okay with me sending you the information. Are you finding value in it?
Absolutely.
You are.
I do.
Okay, great. No worries. I just wanted to make sure. And if I don't ever hear back from you, it's not a problem, so you know. But I probably will check in from time to time to make sure that the only reason I'm not hearing back from you is because you don't have a need or know of anybody. But if you did, you still good with you would refer it to me?
Absolutely. I just got busy there for a while.
Yeah, no worries. And I don't want you to feel bad about it. I just wanted to make sure you're still okay with me doing it.
Totally.
If you ever get to the point that you're not, you promise me you'll tell me?
Absolutely.
Perfect. See, that's how I want to handle it. See, if I'm looking for red, I'm going to give people permission to tell me they don't want to be in here. Now, I don't want to convince them, though. I don't want to be on the other side of like, I don't want to do this. Greg, you don't want me calling you anymore, do you? Like, I don't want to try to convince him to be red, but I just want to find out. And if along the way I start to wonder if this is why we look for the red, if I start to wonder, then I'm just going to go straight out and ask him, are you okay with me staying in touch with you? Yeah, absolutely. I love the information. Great. Not a problem. If you hear of anybody, let me know. Okay. All right. Any questions? Oh, how else do we know they're red? Let me tell you how else we know they're red. The other way you're going to know they're red is you drive by their house and there's another agents for sale sign in the front yard. They're red. Now, the good news is if you're staying in touch, that shouldn't happen. But the other ways you're going to know they're red is that they flat out just tell you. You call them up and they go, yeah, you know what, Russ? Why don't you take me off your list? Okay. Now, again, if I'm looking for green, I would feel bad. I would feel rejected. But when I'm looking for red, I'm like, sweet. Sounds good. Thanks, Josh. I appreciate you telling me. Because see, now for me, I'm excited because now I get a free throw. I don't ever have to call him. I don't have to put any more time and effort into him to contact him. Therefore, I can go get somebody else that actually might refer somebody to me. Could you imagine if you had a group of people who were consistent at just referring people to you? How nice would that be in your career? See, that's the point that Tonya Messina that I was telling you about. She has followed this exactly to the T. And so the other piece that I would add into this under protocol number 3 that she did, that isn't one of the protocols, but she does, is the other thing she has added up there is she does a client event once a year. So you could do it twice a year if you want to, but once a year, she will go rent out well, good luck now, right? Renting a movie theater. But once a year, she would go rent out a movie theater and then for whatever hot movie was coming out and invite those people to come to it. And then at the movie theater, she would get its talk at the beginning and go, hey guys, thanks for coming. Appreciate all the referrals you sent to me. And, you know, just take that time to thank them for what they're doing. So you guys can decide how you wanted to do it. How I did it, for me, the way I took care of kind of a client appreciation thing, I didn't do it as an event. I probably should have. Instead, for me, anybody that gave me a referral that turned into a transaction, or it was even just a really good referral, around Thanksgiving time, I would go buy a turkey, a gift certificate for like a Norbest turkey. And then I would go take them the certificate to their house and just say, hey, appreciate all the referrals you gave me this past. Like I always use Thanksgiving as the time to go give thanks to this group of people. So those are just some ideas for you guys. All right. Now, last thing, and I apologize, I'm going kind of long, but last thing that I want to give you on this, let me show you what the power of this is. So if I had 200 people in there and I got it to 60%, because that's where I have found, and that's why back here I did the numbers to get you to 60 right here, is I have found that once you get to 60% is when you can count on this to keep generating business for you. So let's say that I got to that point where I could count on either a transaction or a referral from them from 60% of the people. If every year you got one referral from these 60%, that would be 120 referrals out of this, okay? Now let's say from that 120 referrals that only 60 of them turned into either a buyer broker signed or a listing agreement signed. That's not bad. But let's say that only half of those actually even closed. Okay, so far what I've said is out of 200 people, if I could get 60% of them to either give me a referral or to sign a contract with me, well, not even sign a contract, just say they want to do something, that would be 120 people. If of those, only half of them actually kind of started to go somewhere and half of those only turned into a transaction, and I times that by what's the average commission in Utah? Probably 7,000. But now it's probably 9 actually now. What's the average what's your guys' average in California? 12, 15? Nagme, you're
It's 12.
unmuted.
It's 12.
12. BJ said 12. Okay. So for California, let's do 30. Somebody do 30 times 12,000. What's that? And then for Utah, we'll just make it easy and say it's 9. But so that's going to be $270,000 in Utah. What's 12 times 30?
360.
All right, I'm moving to California.
You'll be sorry.
Yeah.
Did you guys hear that in California? Greg said I'd be sorry. Right now, I would. You know what's funny with that, Greg? So, like, I love coming down to our offices down there. By the way, guys, it's been a year. In fact, I think it's a year this week. Well, in fact, I know it was because this week was the anniversary of Kobe dying, right?
Talking about
Yeah.
custom.
I know. I flew into California the day that happened. So I jumped on a plane and flew in. So a year ago was the last time I was in doing trainings for you guys. So I miss you. Miss being down there with you guys. But I'm sure glad I'm not there because somebody needs to take out Governor Newsom. I'm just kidding. Not really, but kind of. We got to get Disneyland open again. All right. So notice that though. $360,000 for Utah, it's 270. Bummer. Don't do it. That's not enough. It's not worth doing the effort of this, right? That's how I would show you how it works, is that's the process of how this works. Is I would say, and here's the thing, you might look at it and go, yeah, but out of 200 people, I'm not going to get 120. To begin with, I would agree, that's true. But imagine if you consistently got rid of the people who didn't refer people to you and changed them with people that would. That's where I'm saying you can get to the point of this. Now, let me show you, for you guys in California specifically, but Utah as well. What if what you did is this? What if you built this 200 people in your database from people who were what I call hand raisers? Hand raisers are going to be people that sign up on a website, or for you guys in California specifically, you guys get a lot more people that show up to an open house than we do here in Utah. If we got as many people in Utah to show up to an open house as you guys do in there in California, and are you guys still seeing good numbers? Who's doing open houses down there in California? Yeah, can you?
Nope.
Nope.
No.
See, get rid of Governor Newsom.
I know.
That's all we could do it. We are doing it, I should say.
Wow.
We just don't have any listings to do open houses on.
Yeah.
All right. Well, here's the deal. Imagine if what happened is once you can do open houses again, because it's coming, we're closer than we were last March. How's that? To doing open houses again. When you guys can do it, what if what you did is every single person that came through, you either set an appointment with them or you got them to agree to go into your database? Like, to some extent, here's what I'll tell you. And for you guys that have done the trainings when I've done it in California on open houses, is 82% of the people who walk into an open house will do something real estate related within a 1-year period. What if what you did is open houses and every person that came through, you either set an appointment with them or you put them into your database? We already know 82% are going to do something within a year. Now, not all, you're not going to capture all 82%, but what if you got you had 200 people that you had met at open houses and you could capture 60% of them? That'd be 120 transactions in a year. Now, you're probably not going to do that, but even if you got half of it, it's still 60. But what if you only got half of that? Bummer, you'd only make $360,000 next year. So don't do it. Instead, keep not calling your sphere of influence. Keep not doing anything with them. Keep being upset when they use someone else. All right. What questions? I'm done. Besides answering your questions. If you did not put your, we got a lot more people on Zoom. Put your first and last name along with your office in the chat box if you have it, if you would. What other questions? Can you see value in it? Is it exciting? Now, here's my real question. Who's going to actually do it?
Are you gonna believe it?
Yes, I'm going to believe Greg for sure. I'll believe you, Joanne. All right, guys. Since I'm not seeing any, let's see. Yeah, I'm not seeing any questions. So thanks for being on with me. And for you guys in California, miss you. It has been a year since I was there. I will be really grateful when I can come back again, but hopefully sooner than later. So thanks for being with me. Have an awesome day, and I'll talk to you next time.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Good to see you again.
You too.
Thank you, Ross.
You are welcome.
Can you have like a schedule?
Yeah, let me grab one for you ready.
Yeah.
Step by step, Russ. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for coming again.
Oh, Russ,
Yes.
is there another session tomorrow?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, today was, initially the calendar went out saying that, but it was kind of a mistake.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bye.
I'll be happy to help you if you want.
Awesome. I appreciate
Okay.
it.
See ya.
Thank you.